operate, but in a way that is not beholden to the Chinese Communist Party. Why is that important? Because the CCP has repeatedly used TikTok and other social media platforms to suppress the very people that Nancy Pelosi and I and others have been fighting for decades. And so that's why we're so honored that so many organizations can be here today, including the Campaign for Uyghurs, the Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong Foundation, Formosan Association for Public Affairs, Hong Kong Democracy Council, Human Rights in China, the Taiwanese Chambers of Commerce of North America, the Uyghur American Association, and Humanitarian China have all come together in favor of this bill. What does this bill do? It's very simple. One, it makes sure that ByteDance, which is beholden to the CCP, divests TikTok. Secondly, what we want to see is that we want this particular platform to continue to flourish for people to be able to enjoy it. And third, it gives authority to the President of the United States, regardless of who it is. It could be a Democrat, it could be a Republican, it could be anybody. Enables them to identify other social media apps controlled by foreign adversaries and take measures to protect Americans in a similar way to what we're saying with regard to ByteDance. So with that, I just want to pass it on to Speaker Pelosi and thank all these organizations for their tireless advocacy on behalf of their constituents and for their advocacy for this bill. And we hope that all of our colleagues will be listening closely to what they have to say in addition to the speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krishnamoorthi.
If you like to come down, you can.
Down just a few steps. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Congressman, Ranking Member Krishnamoorthi of the China Commission. Thank you and Mr. Chairman Gallagher for the leadership that you have provided on this issue. You have worked hard on so many issues relating in a positive way to our Indo-Pacific relationship, but also in a way that honors our values and protects our people. Our friend of all of this cause, Tom Swazi of New York. Mr. Swazi, thank you. You've been such a friend to human rights everywhere. Thank you. Now here's the thing. This is not about banning TikTok. TikTok likes to say that because I have grandchildren who are teenagers. I understand the entertainment, the education, the communication, the friendship, the joy of TikTok. But I also say that all of our social media is a wonderful blessing, but it's a double-edged sword if it is not used with integrity. And so we're not there to ban TikTok. I say let's call it tic-tac-toe, something better than TikTok because it does not have its algorithm controlled by ByteDance, which is beholden to the Chinese government. And so here's the thing. During the election in Taiwan, and my colleague friends here can attest to this better than I, TikTok was TikToking into Taiwan and saying that the Uyghurs just loved what the Chinese government was doing to them. They just loved that. And in terms of Hong Kong, they were very happy with the repression and the new laws that they are to limit freedom in Hong Kong. And as far as Tibet is concerned, our friends in Tibet, they've told me that the Tibetan message is completely suppressed on TikTok. In addition to that, misinformation flowing on TikTok. Tibet. So just to name a few, but human rights throughout China, not having people say it's freedom of expression. Well, let's have freedom of expression. So it's very important for members. I know they said, well, this is moving quickly. Well, don't let process be in the way of progress. Not process. Yes, we like things to take longer. The committee did its work, but it's not a legislative committee. It had to pass that work on to the Committee of Jurisdiction, where the bill passed 50-0. 50-0. And we hope to bring up another bill. I think the Speaker is committed to that next week that talks about other aspects of this in terms of brokers of the data and the rest. But the data being possessed by ByteDance and therefore a part of the Chinese government control of the algorithm. With all of the AI that's going on, I'll be just obsessed with who controls the algorithm. Discrimination in the algorithm is something that we have to fight, whether we're women or whether we're Tibetans or Uyghurs or Taiwanese, whatever, because or from Hong Kong, whatever, because that can make such a difference in the communication and the messaging of it. So I got my list here. I have to report. Oh, that's not the list, but I have a list in my pocket of the people that I've been talking to and getting very positive response about it, but it's not done yet. So if you can help us communicate your message, it's not about violating anybody's First Amendment rights. That's not what we're here to do. We do not have a record of doing that. In fact, we support everyone's First Amendment. It's not about that. It's about not having the Chinese government control the data that unknowingly, unwittingly, many of us will be making available to them as we participate in TikTok, unless ByteDance uses TikTok to silence our voices, and we want TikTok to divest from ByteDance. That's our purpose. That's what the bill does, and we'll have more bills and more discussion as we go forward. But again, social media is a double-edged sword. Many wonderful things spring from it, many dangerous things as well. And what's happening now is wonderful. With that, I yield back to our distinguished chair of this effort, co-chair with Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Krishnamoorthi.
Well, thank you so much. I also want to invite two others to speak briefly. First, Elfidar Iltavir, President of the Uyghur Association of America. Does it work?
Hello everyone, I have only 1 minute, so I'm gonna keep it short. I am Elfidar Iltavir, President of Uyghur American Association. I am Uyghur, one of the Uyghur who faced whose people are dealing with the Uyghur genocide. Here on the US soil, we are facing survivor's guilt, transnational repression, and I also faced digital surveillance and online harassment. And unfortunately, our loved ones, brothers and sisters and parents are dealing with China's Uyghur genocide. And ByteDance uses TikTok to silence our voice, and we should stop this as soon as possible. So therefore, I would like to thank Congressman Gallagher to introduce this bill, HR 7521, and we urge Congress to take action as soon as possible and pass this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next I would like to introduce Francis Hui, Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong Foundation.
Thank you very much. I'm Francis Hui. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Coordinator of the Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong Foundation. I'm also one of the a number of Hong Kongers that have recently got a 1 million Hong Kong dollar bounty on my head issued by the Hong Kong government. We're here to support the initiative, the bill that was introduced and led by the Select Committee on the CCP. The reason why we're all here with Uyghurs, Tibetans, Taiwanese, Chinese groups, it's because we're all here to counter the influence of the CCP, their threats to American data security, and their efforts to downplay human rights abuses committed by China and other authoritarian regimes. We support the bill, and for the reason that TikTok has in the past actually withdrawn or removed content about Hong Kong, and in particular related to Jimmy Lai, a pro-democracy campaigner and the founder of Apple Daily, who is currently sitting in jail in Hong Kong for at least nearly 1,200 days now, and he's facing life in prison for simply standing up for freedom. TikTok has put down content about him because they're scared, because it's related to the CCP, and their ability to harvest users' data allowed them to tweak public opinion, to influence our American public and about human rights atrocities committed by China. And therefore, the committee support this bill. We're not here to ban TikTok. TikTok is not the problem. The problem is the ties ByteDance have with the CCP, and that they continue to operate in U.S. platform. And so we really appreciate the efforts by the Select Committee on CCP, and thank you, Congresswoman, for showing your support. And I'm really happy to be among, all the allies here to show our support to, the efforts, and we hope that the bill can be expeditiously passed on the floor tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Francis. Now I want to introduce someone who needs no introduction. Our newest colleague, but one of our dearest colleagues, Tom Swazi.
Thank you, Raja. To our Tibetan friends, Tasha Delay. And to DJ, thank you so much for being here today. For our Uyghur friends, Rahmet, thank you so much for being here today. And Goche and Sheshe to everyone else, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This bill is an extraordinary action by the United States of America. Why would we be taking such an extraordinary action like this has been proposed by Raja Krishnamoorthi and Congressman Gallagher and Speaker Pelosi? Why are we taking such an extraordinary action? Well, ask the communities that are here. The Chinese Communist Party will do everything it can to advance its agenda. It will violate the basic norms that we all expect. And if people say, oh, how do you know that they're really using this information in these malicious ways? Well, look what they've done to the Tibetans. Look what they've done to the Uyghurs. Look what they've done in Hong Kong and Taiwan. Look at their past actions. And then look at the influence that the Chinese Communist Party has over ByteDance. So I want to thank my colleagues for the good work that they're doing. We're all going to work together tomorrow to make sure that this passes. Thank you very much.
Good job. Okay, why don't we take a couple questions? Okay.
Speaker Pelosi, what do you tell? I'm a reporter with Congressional Quarterly. What do you tell your Republican colleagues in light of comments by former President Trump opposing this bill?
Well, he was for it before he opposed it, as you know. When he was president, he tried to take action which was not upheld in the court. And that's why we need the legislation, so that what happens here would be upheld in the court, as I'm sure one will want to go to court on this. So what we're saying to them is be your own person. The Republicans in Congress support the Uyghurs, support the Tibetans, support the Taiwan, support Hong Kong overwhelmingly. Democrats and Republicans, House and Senate, you all that from your committee. Overwhelmingly, we have strong bipartisanship in support of human rights and the rest. And again, not having China control that algorithm and control that data that is dangerous. So that's my message to them.
Krishnamoorthi, Brendan Borlaug a minute ago. So this bill would force TikTok to sell, but it would also buy TikTok. I'm wondering if you guys read any discussion about who a potential buyer would be.
Are you interested?
Probably
Look,
get a new job.
There's published reports of numerous interested buyers now coming forth. The American investors in ByteDance, which owns TikTok, want this company to sell. Why? Because they can't take this company public on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. They want to unload this property. So there are buyers and there are potential sellers, investors who want to get rid of it. I think it's going to be disposed of just the same way that Grindr. So Grindr was owned by a Chinese company, and then the U.S. government discovered that essentially the CCP had access to sensitive data about LGBTQ members of the U.S. government and military. At that point, they forced the Chinese company to sell Grindr, and it sold very quickly. Why? Because it's a valuable social media platform, just the same as TikTok is. And there was no disruption for the users. And that's what we're calling for here. No, one last thing, if I might. TikTok provided the best reason last week for why this legislation needs to pass. On the very day that the House Energy and Commerce Committee took it up for consideration, they actually issued a push notification and a pop-up that appeared on thousands and thousands of users' phones. They used geolocation targeting to go after children, minor children, who then flooded all of our offices with phone calls. And basically, these people called our offices and said things like, "What is Congress? What is a congressman? Give me my TikTok back." And so that influence campaign helped convince a number of ENC members who were lean yeses to become strong yeses. And it was the best illustration of why we need this legislation.
And Congressman, just really quickly, Sam Wong with NPD News. So Congress has proposed a number of legislation targeting TikTok in the past. And what makes this one so different, and why now?
Well, I think that this is different because it's been negotiated by Democrats, Republicans, and the administration all at once. Okay? We spent months and months and months putting it together, listening to concerns, making sure that this was ready to go. And I think the ENC vote demonstrated that it was because it was 50-0, a unanimous vote, it demonstrated why this is a high-quality work product. All that being said, we need to get House passage, and so we have a lot of hard work to do today, and we need to do it and get the votes for tomorrow.
I just made Mr. Krishnamoorthi, Mr. Chairman, so many ways, so many titles, so much talent, such a great leader. Yet you mentioned last week, since you did a temple marker, I'll do one. Yesterday we observed the 65th anniversary of the Dalai Lama as a teenager leaving Tibet, forced out of Tibet by the violence of the Chinese government. In that spirit, I was hoping that we could have someone from a Tibet community speak about this legislation, because they have been telling us all the stories of how they have gotten misrepresented on TikTok and also blocked.
Many of you folks might not already know, but Tibet has been ranked the least free place on earth year after year. Just recently, it scored 0 out of 100. Like, you can't score any less than 0. We have 0 out of 100 in terms of freedom score for Tibet in terms of the rest of the world. And so this is the situation inside of Tibet. We have 80% of our children that are in colonial state-run boarding schools. China is using American companies to steal our DNA and blood samples. The situation inside of Tibet continues to worsen each and every single day. But China doesn't stop there. What it does is uses this long-arm tactics of transnational repression to suppress any sort of critical dissent or critique against the Chinese government anywhere, everywhere across the world. And how does it do that? One of the ways that it does deploy that tactic is through TikTok. And so we have seen the ways in which they tried to silence all of the voices that are not just against the CCP, but it's for human rights, for democracy, for freedom, for justice, for the values that each and every single one of us here have the right to be able to enjoy. And we are privileged to be able to enjoy when people are practicing their ability to express freely here on American soil. They're subjected to all sorts of violence, such as family members back home being targeted. Not only that, just recently in November here in San Francisco on American soil, we had Tibetans, Uyghurs, and Hong Kongers that were physically attacked by Chinese foreign state entities, which is going to be investigated by DOJ. And so this is the situation of Tibetans, Uyghurs, and Hong Kongers, and not just these entities. We are also Tibetan Americans. We are also Tibetan Americans and Hong Konger Americans and Taiwanese Americans and Uyghur Americans. These are humans like you and I that are going through this type of long-arm tactics and intimidation tactics that the Chinese government is deploying, and it's deploying through these tactics such as apps like TikTok. And so we look forward to seeing restrictions be applied for such apps, and not just stopping there. We need to keep going and identifying what are the other ways that the Chinese government deploys tactics to control and silence all voices across the world. Because let's be real, China is not just a threat to America, it is a threat to all democracy, all freedom across the world. As China continues to build coalitions with Iran, Russia, and all other dictators, we have less and less time to support and protect our democracy. So it is time that we, the international community, all come together and stand behind this legislation and continue to fight for democracy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Taiwan. refugees?
from mainland China.
From mainland. Okay.
Yes, we have all the boys from Uyghur team, Tibetan team, and I'm going to speak about mainland China team, Hong Kong team. And the thing is, I just want to say I am a political prisoner's wife. My husband, just because of get together with some like-minded friend, was sentenced to 12 years jail by subversion of state power. All what they did is belong to freedom of speech. All what they did is just get together to talk what they want to talk about. Today, when the journalist talked with me, she asked, some Americans think if we control TikTok, we will control the freedom of speech of United States. I said, Chinese government used the freedom of speech, covered tons of truth in China, covered tons of evil they did in China, covered tons of surveillance, monitoring of the privacy of everyone's power and rights. They deprivate all the rights of your freedom of speech. They will not give you any freedom of speech. We have no freedom in China at all.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great day.
Yeah.
Taiwan.
Okay, who's from Taiwan? Zach?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, here, right here.
So I just want to express that we want to support the freedom, especially the freedom of speech. When we're talking about the cyber security, that's a serious question in China using that kind of software and try to screen out other opinions that might from the civil society that we might need it. So I really appreciate that the Congress can pass a bill this time and help to the construction of the freedom of speech in the world and try to send out a signal to the world saying that the freedom of speech is very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep in touch with us, okay?
So you're done, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm parking.
Okay. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know what your time is. We'll find out later.
Sure. Thank you.